You're running for MID. I see you have your sticker here, so that's great. And you brought your sign. Wonderful. How are you campaigning to get the word out that you are actually running for the MID?
Well, I've been trying to be real involved in the community for a number of years. I've served on different boards in the area, the chairman of the Modesto City Schools Ag Advisory Committee. I've been on the Stanislaus County Farm Bureau Board of Directors, the National Ag Science Center Board, and so my community involvement was kind of one step where I was able to allow people to know that I am interested in running for Modesto Irrigation District Board of Directors, and now here we are. And so I've been getting the word out, going to community events, visiting meetings, really just letting people meet me, find out who I am and what I'm all about.
And do you plan on going like door to door and knocking on the doors and handing out flyers and
sure enough, yeah,
wearing out a pair of shoes doing that?
I bought a new pair of shoes just for that reason. So yeah, I have some walk pieces that are coming out next week.
Good.
So look for me in your areas and knocking on doors and community events. In fact, Salida Town and Country Festival is coming up Saturday, August 24th, and I'll have a booth at the Salida Town and Country Festival. So come by if you're interested in Modesto Irrigation District or other water issues. I'd love to be able to visit with folks about their concerns.
Where is the district that you're going to be running for? Because some people who may not be aware of MID, we do get to vote on who serves on the water board. And we, the ratepayers, can vote on that. But there are separate districts. And so you're not going to run for the entire board for all of Stanislaus County.
Yeah.
So where is your district?
There's 5 divisions. And so I'm running for the director's seat in Division 4. And Division 4 on the northern end would basically be the river, Ladd Road. More or less. If you're on that side of the freeway, when you jump across to the west side of the freeway, it pretty much runs to the end of the MID system, which is the river. When you get to be on the east end, runs by Tully Road, more or less to Rumble. There's in that subdivision that's kind of in that neck of the woods, there's a lot of moving and shaking in that area. So the line changes a lot. So it's more or less Rumble Road, and then it follows essentially Woodland Avenue out towards the end. It actually follows a canal bank. It's between Woodland and Blue Gum. It follows a canal bank out to the end of the system.
I know where that canal bank is.
There you go.
Now, how far out does MID go, like on the west side? Does it go all the way out to Mapes Ranch or
Correct.
Vernalis even?
Mapes Ranch is the end of the line.
Okay.
And so it's the end of the water system, and that is actually the end of the Modesto Irrigation District coverage area. And so that's where our division ends, is out there. Mapes Ranch is the end of the line.
Is Mapes Ranch included in MID, or it stops just before it?
No, Mapes Ranch annexed into the district in probably early mid-'80s, and so before that used to be the end right before them, and now they are the actual end. Mapes Ranch. Yeah.
You know, in the beginning I was talking about some people say that we have extra water to sell, and other people are saying we're in the middle of a drought. So which is it?
Well, there's no doubt that we're in the middle of a drought. You know, we haven't seen the rainfall that we've seen in past years. That's why it came up the issue earlier that Turlock Irrigation District was maybe looking to purchase water from Modesto Irrigation District because they weren't sure they were going to have enough reserves to cover the year. You don't do that in in high water years. You do that in years of shortage or where you're concerned of short water years. So we're definitely in a time of drought. But what's going to happen next year? Well, we don't know. What's going to happen the year after that? Well, we don't know. And so if it starts compounding year after year, we can be in real water short years. When the issue came up for the water sale to City and County of San Francisco, it really started the discussion as far as what is our usage today? Do we have water in excess, essentially, to be able to move to different areas or sell or monetize? Or what do we need for our own usage? And I know for the deal with City and County of San Francisco that was failed, they were talking 50 and 60-year contract. Well, if we're already concerned about this year and we don't know what's going to happen next year, we don't know what's going to happen 50 or 60 years down the road. So water is one of those issues we're always going to have to be aware of. It's as unpredictable as Mother Nature. So we'll take it year by year and capitalize on years when we can and conserve on years when we need to.
I know that the water sale to the San Francisco City and County of San Francisco was a pretty hot issue about 1.5 years, 2 years ago, and it didn't go through, but I understand it's still on the table. If that kind of bubbles to the surface again, what is your standpoint on selling water to San Francisco?
I don't know that it's necessarily still on the table, but the idea of a water transfer hasn't gone anywhere, nor should it. in high water years, we should be looking to add value to that water. If it's just going to be sitting in the reservoir and we're looking at some wet years, the reservoir's at capacity and there is a way to take advantage of it, sure, we should be able to look at 1 or 2 year deals. I actually spoke in favor of the deal that was proposed to Turlock Irrigation District before TID decided that they were going to be okay this year. Because on a short year basis, on a one year, 2 year basis, we can look that far ahead to determine whether we have that water for 1 year or 2 years. So if the idea of a transfer comes up again, it's going to be on a case-by-case basis. We can't just have one policy that states if someone calls and they meet this criteria, let's stamp it and let's do it. Each year is going to be different depending on our outlook for the next year or what happened the previous 5 years, how much water is being requested. So all those will take into consideration, but I think transfers can be very beneficial to the district as long as they protect the ratepayer of Modesto Irrigation District. That's who should always come first.
So I'm understanding that you're not an advocate for a 5-decade sale to someone.
Yeah, you won't find me at the front of the line endorsing a 50-year contract of any sort. But if someone wants to talk in short terms and we have a contract structured that is beneficial to the ratepayer of the Modesto Irrigation District, then by all means, we should do everything we can to move forward and benefit our own ratepayers. That's who a water transfer should benefit, us, not somebody else. It should be mutually beneficial. If they want the water and we have the water, then what's our part of the deal?
I don't understand too much about a falling water charge. That's been kind of smoke and mirrors to me. I don't understand that at all. Can you describe that clearly for the viewers?
Sure. The falling water charge is a cost on an electrical ratepayer's bill. And the way they determine the falling water charge is by how much water flows through the turbines at New Don Pedro. So the idea is, if we didn't have the turbines at New Don Pedro, we would have to go out and purchase that amount of power that we're generating from our own stored water on the open market. So the falling water charge takes that value of what it would cost us to buy that same amount of energy on the open market and applies it to the amount of water that we actually flow through New Don Pedro. And that amount of water is kind of on a rolling average on a 4-year basis. So it's not based off last year, this year, it's based off a 4-year rolling average. Then that total that's brought up, that amount we would have to pay, we assess how much it costs to operate the system. That amount is charged to the water side because it's the water side's responsibility to maintain those operations. Whatever is left over is then go ahead and charged to the electric ratepayer as a charge of, again, what it would cost to go out and pay for that energy if we were to go out and buy it on the open market, minus the cost to actually maintain the system. So it's definitely garnered a lot of controversy and a lot of discussion. You can hear it referred to as a subsidy, but really what it is a way to assess a charge for amount of energy that we would normally have to go out and buy on the open market.
That's almost as clear as how smart the smart meters are.
Yeah.
But we won't talk about that. What do you think about water storage here in California? There's talk about tearing down reservoirs or dams and putting in canals, or not canals, but tunnels, underground water storage that can be moved from here to Southern California. I was talking with somebody who had just talked with Governor Brown the other day about that. So what do you think about water storage here in California? Do we have enough? Do we need less? Do we need more?
Water storage in California is always going to be one of those situations where we can never have enough. Our population is on the rise. California's population is going to hit 50 million people before you know it. And where's that water going to come from? We have 3 main requirements for water in the state of California. We have the municipalities, we have environmental, and we have agricultural. And California is the largest agricultural state in the nation, the 5th largest agricultural economy in the world. So we have a lot of water needs in the state of California when you think of the highest population, the highest agricultural state, probably the largest amount of environmentalists looking for water for the environment. So we have a lot of competing needs. So we could always use for more storage. Less storage is never the answer. And I find it kind of confounding that in California we're more focused on the state level at looking at a $70 billion plus high-speed rail project to nowhere, when we actually had to postpone an $11 billion water bond in the state of California 2 years ago, well, about a year and a half ago, at 2012. So 2014, there's going to be an $11 billion water bond coming back up before the state legislature. That needs to be our priority and focus. A high-speed train to nowhere, it sounds great. It's you know, you can put a picture of it on a postcard, but more water for the citizens of California, that's something that'll benefit everybody. $2 billion of that $11 billion water bond was earmarked for new storage. So we actually have something that we need to get our state legislators talking about. We should all engage our state legislators and say, this is an issue coming up, the water bond in 2014. Be aware of it. Let's discuss it. And let's come to a consensus that's going to benefit all Californians.
You mentioned about agriculture being the #1 business, can I say, here in California. And yet there are people who would want to pave over that same land that produces the greatest economy for the state. What do you think of the sprawl, my word, that is taking place not just here in Stanislaus County, but throughout California? We can look back 50 to 75 years down in Southern California, and what used to be orange groves is now the 210 freeway or Highway 5. Do you see that happening here in Stanislaus County? And if so, what is your personal opinion about urban sprawl?
Well, you brought up a good point. Los Angeles County was the #1 agricultural county in the nation up until 1950. Good luck finding agriculture in Los Angeles County today. Now, I don't think Modesto is going to become the next Los Angeles, but we have thriving communities. We have areas where we've seen a lot of growth. And again, I go back to our population in California is going to hit 50 million before we know it. So we can't be a no-growth community. We have to be a smart growth community. And there are areas where we do have prime ag land. Prime ag land, we hear the term prime farmland thrown around. You're not just throwing a nonsensical term saying it's prime. Prime farmland is an actual designation given to soils that score an 80 or higher on a soil story index by the Natural Resources Conservation Service. So around Modesto, when we look to the west of Modesto, the Beckwith Triangle area and further west, and even areas to the north side of Kernan, we're looking at areas that score a 98. There's only 2 soils that get the highest score on the Natural Resources Conservation Survey, and that's a Hanford Sandy Loam is one of them, and that scores a 98. And in Beckwith Triangle area, 90% of the soil in the area is a Hanford Sandy Loam. We're talking as premier as soil can get. When you look to the eastern sides of town, you're looking at less productive soils and less productive areas. So when we talk about growth and we talk about sprawl, Modesto has room to grow. Modesto has 5,000 undeveloped acres within its own sphere of influence. So we have room to grow. But as we continue to look for ways to bring in new jobs, as we look for ways to bring in new residents into our area, we have to push that growth into less productive areas and be smart about our growth.
I thank you for joining me tonight. I see that we got the 2-minute mark. So give me your contact information where we can find you in person or online, and we can look forward to seeing you knock on the doors.
Easy enough. You can go to jakewenger.com, JakeWenger, and on the website there's a lot of information about me personally, my family history in the area. My great-grandfather first settled on Beckwith Road, just west of Modesto in 1910, and so there's a little bit of that information on there, as well as a little bit about my campaign. And so feel free to go on and check it out, and look for me at community events in the area.
Very good. And August 24th in Salida.
August
at the Town and
24th,
Country
the
Festival.
Salida Town and Country Festival. Look for the Jake Wenger booth for Modesto Irrigation District.
Thank you. Next time you come on, we'll have you on for a whole hour.
Sounds good.
Okay,
Thank you,
thanks,
Athens.
Jake.
Appreciate it.